Hello everyone, my name is Stephanie. Fanny. Do you know what my main problem is? I'm too curious and moreover, I'm a gambling kind of person. And the dumbest thing is that my friends know about it. By the way, we're all up-and-coming doctors. We're med students who adore their profession. There is no science more beautiful for us than medicine, and you will not see miracles anywhere more than in our faculty and within the walls of the hospitals. Shortly speaking, my story is a little creepy, but I just have to tell you about it. So sit back, listen, and watch. During an anatomy class, the guys and I, as always, sat next to each other and began to discuss the structure of human bodies inside and out. Our friend Harry just loved looking at the groin areas, and in men too. Everything was just interesting to him. We jokingly called him Yaika, although he planned to be a noble surgeon. "Hey Steph, look," he said and got into the position of a woman's uterus, twisting his arms as if holding basketballs at his sides. Then he began to dance, showing the female psycho days. "Harry, what are you doing? Should I call your mom again because you're getting used to the role of uterus and not a doctor?" The girls in the audience giggled. Harry straightened up, then sat back down. I whispered to him that sometimes it seemed to me like he was in the wrong field of study. "You should have just become a clown," I told him. Then the professor began talking about corpses. This was a serious topic, and I wanted to study it properly because my grandpa was a pathologist, a person who studies changes in the body due to illnesses. Sometimes I wanted to follow his footsteps, but as soon as the professor showed us the photos on the projector, I felt kind of bad. I ran out to the toilet and vomited. When I returned, Harry laughed at me. "How are you going to follow the footsteps of your grandpa if you can't even look at the photos?" he asked. I replied that actual work is different, and generally speaking, I would get used to it anyway, and I will endure everything. "That's all?" he asked. A dispute was growing between us. Harry held out his hand to me and said, "I bet you couldn't stay in the morgue for 2 hours." To which I replied that it was easy and shook his hand. We bet that the loser would buy a week worth of lunches. My friends tried to stop me, but I was sure that I could handle it. I began to calm myself down with the thought that in the morgue there was nothing actually terrible going on because one should be afraid of the living and not the dead. And in the evening we gathered at the morgue with my friends. I put on my robe and went into the building. The others checked the time and said that they would watch me through the cameras. I told our guard that I was an intern and entered without any problems, but first I listened to a 10-minute lecture about his life in the early days. That's how he was. Then I went down to the ground floor and stopped right in front of the door. Time has come. I had to win the argument at whatever cost. Taking a deep breath, I pulled the handle and entered. It was as if the air filled with death hit my face. I mean, it was actually like that. Few people know, but corpses have their own unique smell, and it is very strong as well as poisonous. So, if you stay in the morgue for half an hour, you will smell so bad that even a shower will not help you. Honestly, I've been here before, but never alone and never for more than 10 minutes. I began to regret what I started, but my excitement simply did not allow me to give up so easily. When I closed the door behind me, my eyes involuntarily began to scan the room. I saw in front of me the special tables and trays, refrigerators, jars with special solutions. It was cold and so quiet that goosebumps ran through my body. Taking a few timid steps, I walked across the hall, where people were wrapped up in sheets like mummies. Suddenly, thoughts came into my head that now their relatives and family were mourning their loss, and I felt so sad for them. A second later, it seemed to me that someone was looking at me. I looked around but realized that none of them were alive except me, and then I remembered about the cameras and showed my middle finger to Harry. I knew he was looking. By agreement, I had to go around every corner in the morgue and not stand in one place. Well, my curiosity would still not allow me to just stand there like that anyway. Of course, I first examined all sorts of pieces of paper, then went up to the fridges. I opened one of them. I wanted to see what it was like inside. Then, along with the tray, a man appeared. It was an old man. Apparently, he died due to old age. I looked at him as if spellbound and just reached out to touch him, and then my phone rang abruptly. I jumped with fear. Harry was on the entrance, and he, as always, asked to fulfill his stupid request to take a picture of the grandpa's body. I again pointed my middle finger at the camera and closed the body up. Then I went to another tray and removed the white sheet. I saw a girl there. She looked my age. Surprisingly, she was so young and dead already. I carefully examined her face. and then again, her mouth suddenly opened. "Oh God!" I yelled and jumped away from her. With my back, I pushed someone else's tray from where another corpse fell down. This terrible situation made me so uneasy. I understood that I needed to put him back in his place, but I could not even go up to him. With caution, I wrapped up my hands in the sheet and then began to lift him. But I was not good at it. The body seemed small, but it weighed a ton. And then I wanted to run away. I decided to leave it on the floor because I could not lift it. I covered it with sheets and then rolled it up into a corner and then went to the exit. Accidentally, I pulled the lever wrong and the door did not open. It closed. And then I realized that I was stuck in the morgue. I started to panic. I wanted to call the guys, but suddenly I heard the creak of the door. And jumping up again from surprise, I ran towards the exit and saw that the door was actually slightly open. Then I heard other people's voices, and I thought of jumping onto an empty tray and covering myself with a sheet. If anyone finds out that I'm here, I'm dead. Judging by the voices, our professor entered the morgue, and she was talking with another professor about our exams. And then my phone rang again. I knew it was my stupid friend. The professors froze in surprise. And then they probably thought that someone just forgot to take out the phone. Then my professor suddenly said that after Tony, another pathologist, it was always a mess, and she began to push all the trays into the fridge again. Then I realized that they would shut me now. And what will happen then? I didn't want to lose, but if they shut me down, how could I get out? Then my turn came, and I grabbed her hand through the sheet. My professor screamed so loudly that I thought that I'd die from the loud noise. The other professor fainted. The professor hit me in the face with a machine gun, and from the blow, I fell on the floor. Professor Polsey began to shout that I was an evil spirit and tried to get rid of me. And I tried to get to my feet and explain that I was alive and that I was actually her student. But she was so shocked that she did not even recognize me. Then a professor named Swift got up from the floor and saw her colleague hitting me with a folder of papers, screamed to call the police, and then fainted again. In the end, I decided to get closer to Miss Polsley so that she would properly see me, but she pulled back and tripped over her colleague and fell on her. She also lost consciousness. I stood frozen for about a minute looking at all this, and then a wild laughter attacked me. I could not stop. "No one will believe me when I say this," I said and looked towards the camera. At this moment, one of the fridge doors opened and the tray rolled out very slowly. My heart sank, and laughter changed to fear. I saw how a body, covered with something, lay on the table and then rose quickly. It was some kind of nightmare happening in front of my eyes. In mere centimeters from me, a corpse stood up from the dead and was like, "Why are you yelling?" And then I do not remember anything. When I woke up, my friends were standing over me. Two angry professors sat on the couch and held ice bags to the back of their heads, and I just lay there all messed up and did not understand what was going on. Then Harry came up to me and said that he saw everything through the camera. "It was a whole damn movie," he said. It turns out that the corpse that scared me was actually our pathologist. After his shift, he sleeps there because no one bothers him there and does not call him to work. Because of the noise, he woke up and decided to see what was happening. I have never experienced such stress in my life. Do you know what Harry said? That I still lost the argument because I was scared out 10 minutes earlier than the agreed time. And that was the most offensive thing. Not only do I now have problems with the professors, but I also have to feed this dumbass for a whole week with lunches. Well, an argument is an argument, so you have to keep your word. And by the way, yes, I threw out all of my white sheets at my house and bought the bright and colorful ones. Well, just in case. If you like this story, then give it a thumbs up and write us some comments down below. And don't forget to subscribe.